So, Roman, thank you. Well, a 10-minute speech in 5 minutes might be quite hard. I try my best. Disruptive technologies and future developments. So I talk about the market from an entrepreneur perspective. We talk about business cases and we talk about companies. Why are getting companies stronger and why are companies getting killed? Well, disruptive technology. Who has heard about that? Disruptive technology. So if you don't read TechCrunch or Gründerszene or Deutsche Startup, something like that, you have perhaps not heard about that. Disruptive technologies are innovations that improve a product or a service in ways that the market does not expect. What does it mean? It's a theory from Clayton M. Christensen. He's a professor at a small university next to Boston. And he wrote a book in 1997, it's called The Innovator's Dilemma. And he talked about new technologies and how those new technologies could kill old companies. Well, we are at a university, so let's talk about a bit about theory. On the x-axis you see a time stamp, on the y-axis you see a market share of products. And we have a look on a very simple product on sailing ships. Sailing ships, if you have a look to the 18th century, at 1810, there was a market share of sailing 99%. Well, all of these sailing ships existed. But after that, that happened. So, what do you think what happened with the sailing ship industry? Pardon? Yeah, but what disrupted my technology? Which technology? Airplane in the 18th century. Morning? Okay. It was a steamboat. Steamboat. In 1820, the steamboats arrived. Well, those steamboats started their business, and at the beginning, those steamboats were small, they were ugly, they were expensive, they were noisy, they were slow. So, why had those steamboats a chance against those huge sailing boats? They didn't drive on the ocean, they had no chance on the ocean. They drove on the rivers, because the sailing ships were not able to deliver goods on the rivers. So the first step to get in the market was on a bad quality, but on a niche. So they started with a niche. And afterwards, after decades and decades and decades, they're getting bigger, they're getting better, and afterwards they outperformed those sailing ships. And that's the number. That's the number of the steamships. If you talk about the theory, disruptive innovation, and we have a look on one product, so you can see on the right side the time, and on the epsilon axis you can see the quality. So there's a lowest customer expectation, this one. So if there's a quality of a product, that's the lowest expectation a customer has. And time over time, it's a bit rising because the technology is getting better, the product is getting better, and there's a highest customer expectation. So more a customer does not need. So if someone producing a product like this, he's starting regularly there because he don't want to get lower because this is the lowest expectation. And over the time, the product is getting better, 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 and regularly the technology is faster than the demand of the people. And at the end, it's above the highest customer expectation. And why do we create products which are above the highest? Well, that's typical German way. It's over-engineered. Another feature, and some more features. So that's a typical point of the dominance of established companies. And think about later on what kind of companies we talk about. Well, and there are other players, and they start there. They start really on a very, very low base, like the steamboat. It was expensive. It was small. It was slow, but there was a niche market. And at the niche market, they started. Afterwards, they went better and better and better. The ships went more cost-effective. And at the end, it was a disruptive progress. It was a new kind of product. And this new kind of product, this is a dominance of the newcomer. It was a real newcomer. And regularly, the gap between this leadership progress and this disruptive is a disruptive innovation. And if you have a look at the time scale, regularly a disruptive progress is like that. And in our times with internet, it's like a hockey stick, like that. It takes a long time, but afterwards, it's going like this. It's crazy because if you think about this over-engineering, you can see a picture of a ship It's the Thomas W. Lawson. And the Thomas W. Lawson was the biggest sailing ship ever built. 7 masts, 11,000 tons able to carry. But it was created at a time, 1902. So the owner gave tons of money to create a big sailing ship at a time where the sailing ships were not relevant. Why did he do that? We couldn't understand. And I think the same is in our industry. Think about the car industry and the story of Tesla. What people are doing actually, they invest in technology which might be not relevant within the next 10 years. So let's think about some examples of the past, the present, and the future. Example of the past. The sailing ship was disrupted by steamships. But some years later, the steamships were disrupted by motorboats. So another disruption. Another really, does anybody know a picture like that? It's a record player. I owned a record player when I was 12 years old. I think you have never seen something like that. It's a museum. So, a record player has been disrupted by a CD player. When I was 13, my father came at home and he took a 11-kilo CD player for 1,200 Deutschmarks. And he said, that's brand new. And believe me, I was really Deutschmarks. So it's not a euro, it's former times, in the last century. So, we're talking about the CD player, and the CD player at the end was disrupted by the MP3 technology and all those variants. So, let's have a look on the present disruptive technologies. I'm not sure what you're doing if you're looking for a cab. 5 years ago, you just called this 14014 Taxizentrale, the taxi dispatch centers. Today, what are you doing? Okay, you take Uber or My Taxi. In the morning, I just took the app with My Taxi. And it's the same kind of disruption, but the disruption in our times is very, very fast. We're talking about 2, 3, 4, 5 years for disrupting a whole industry. Another most discussed point in our branch is the question, what about travel agencies? So if you ask the guy from Amadeus, it might be another opinion than the guy who doesn't exist anymore. So he's disrupted again. Perhaps we ask the guys at Booking.com and Expedia. Okay. So I think there's people from travel agencies and of course the tour operators might be disrupted by those online guys, like the Expedias and the Booking.coms. Where is the growth? It's not at the travel agency, it's over there, it's in the online business. But they're gonna be disrupted. Another nice case are those pretty nice hotels. You want to join this hotel room? For sure. It's ugly, it's expensive, it's going to be disrupted. Who will disrupt it? Yeah. People, places, and love. Isn't it wonderful? So it's your choice, Airbnb. Let's have a look at the future. Well, 3D printer technology. It might disrupt the whole supply chain. So if you think ahead for 10 years, I'm not sure what you are printing at home. It will really, really, really be an exciting time. Autonomous cars, self-driving cars. We talk about those Google cars, we talk about those Teslas, and for sure we talk about those systems from Bosch, Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, but I'm not sure if they are fast enough. Not in technology, but I think in marketing, the questions of positioning. Let's talk about the Internet of Things. Actually, we have about 22.9 billion connected interfaces in the world. And within 4 years, until 2020, we talk about 50 billion connected interfaces. So everything we're going to be connected. And I think that's a huge potential for disruption and a huge potential for new business cases. So the last 3 examples are especially for the tourism industry. Virtual reality. I've seen at the office from Roman, there's a virtual reality glass over there, an Oculus Rift, I'm not sure which one. So Oculus Rift, for example, will be a pretty good product to show everything around the destination before being there. So perhaps this might be the new travel agency. Voice recognition, I think it will be a deal breaker. Well, I'm 48 and till November last year, I didn't use voice recognition. I didn't talk to my handy. Just when my mother rang me up, I talked to her, but not to my smartphone. Today, I changed, because I was on vacation in Mexico and I met a friend. He's 11 years old. And I just asked him, he's from Canada, and I just asked him, hey, can you tell me the weather? And I thought he would pick up his smartphone and type in weather Seattle Necho. Oh, he said, hey Google, weather. Well, the weather for tomorrow is blah, 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 blah. So he's doing everything via voice. And I think this generation will not type into laptops like this that just speak with a smartphone. And all the services we're talking about today, and none of them talked about voice recognition, all the services have to be able to get this voice recognition within the product. And I think it's a huge chance for a new small company to create a service like that. And the last one is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence means machine learning. And there are already startups in the travel business doing like that. For example, there are business startups for business traveling, and you just talk to your smartphone, or you send a WhatsApp message, like, for example, tomorrow, Munich, Central Station, TripAdvisor rating 80%, one night, maximum 80 euros, maximum distance from the Central Station 500 meters, book it. And the system can automatically book the hotel room for you. And it takes you 30 seconds. And you don't need an OTA. So, there's huge space. So what does it mean to you? That's me in 1986, 30 years ago. Yeah, that's true, that's me. I had access to few computers, really few. I had no internet at all, and for sure I had no mobile phone at that time. Today, less hairs on me, but 22 billion connected devices on Earth. And that means there are endless opportunities in the future. So my advice, take your chance. Thank you so much. So, the first question, who's it?
So, you have mentioned that there are lots of new technologies there, and in 2020 it's larger and bigger. So, if I would like to start my own company, how can I get the resource to the latest of the latest? Because if I search for Google, I might land in some blogs or some not high or not relevant quality information.
So you're looking for information or for technology?
For information about technology, but from the resources that I can trust at least, or I can count on.
It's a $100 billion question, isn't it? Because everybody's looking for that. I think at the beginning there's just an idea. Anybody has to get an idea. As an entrepreneur, you have to get an idea. And you have to mind the market's niche, where you can try to figure out if your idea works or not. So at the beginning, it's just the idea. It's someone who's able to create clever technology. And if that works in a very small space, you need scalable, you need money for scaling your business. And then it's a VC case or a angel case. But at the beginning, it's all about the idea. And if you want to check ideas from others, read TechCrunch, read T-News, for example, read Deutsche Startups, which is German, read Gründerszene, which is German. So there are plenty of resources to get new ideas, and for sure be out in the market. Be on every trade show, have a look on what other people are doing, get connected to people, use LinkedIn, look for entrepreneurs, get connected. So I think there are huge chances. Next question.
The advantage of those large companies, I mean, it's not just Google, but those large companies is that they create the technology, that they create the service first, and then they think about the business model. We are used to do it vice versa. First want to know how to earn money, and then try to create the service. And therefore, they try and failure, and try and failure. And once something works, then they try how to monetize. And the same with Facebook. Facebook, for many years, they just wrote DOS. And then they thought about the business model, and now they integrated it very well at it.
There's a question over there.
Thank you so much. The question is, like, you just talked about the future technologies we have. For example, we still have the voice recognition, but it's only from the Google Voice or maybe the Siri. So those are the two big companies having the only voice recognition facility. So what makes you think that if you have a virtual reality thing that Expedia or Booking.com or any other big company would have? Because if they will have people, I will choose them, not us, because we're a small company.
No, I don't think so. For example, if you talk about voice recognition, there are plenty of companies already that exist and they offer APIs to get connected on that. For example, and even the bigger ones. Have you heard about Amazon Echo? Amazon Echo is a small system you can talk to. It's just saying, it's like a radio, like an MP3 player, and it's with a voice recognition system. And for example, Amazon opened the API to use the voice recognition of Amazon Cloud. So there's no great advantage from, for example, an Expedia or a Booking or somewhere else who's investing tons of money. You can really easily get access to technology like that. And at the end, I think it's not only a question of technology-driven case, it's a question of value. Does your technology create value? And if you are able to show a showcase which creates enough value, you might be the next Mark Zuckerberg.
Thank you.
Great idea, thank you.
So I have a question concerning the tourism industry. So I'm from Tyrol, and a few villages in Tyrol started to advertise because they don't use so much technology. They don't have any really technology in their infrastructure, like cable cars or something like that. Do you think that's a potential for the future as well, or is it just to the technology way?
Well, I'm sure that for every movement there is an opposite movement, but I think it's not the big one. So if, for example, a hotel is offering a Wi-Fi free, non-technology surrounding, that might be a niche chance. If it's a niche chance for a whole region, I'm not sure for that. But the mass is walking, the mass and the industry is walking in a technology-based direction. I think it might be only for niche persons. Further questions, or thirsty for a beer? Okay, this guy's another question, okay.
Only second question today. Since you're an expert in guitar, could figure out all these other companies that you created. What is your, if you can share some stuff with us, on the other hand, a lot of us would like to create our own companies as well during this program that we want to learn, but what is the best part you want to share? How did you create all this? Some kind of, if you can pick a couple of things in the process, what influenced you to build these companies? How did you get to your ideas? Because we are having
That's a hard question.
Innovation in our program. If there's something you can pick and share,
That's the best question. I'm not sure if I have an answer for that. I think, well, I was 20 when I did my first small company. I played guitar, and someone asked me, can you play guitar for me in a studio? And I said, yes, pay me for that. It was my first small company. And afterwards, I did something out of that, and it was getting more and more and more. And I think the most important things, as we discussed before, you have to be a bit a salesperson. You have to fight, and you have to sell your product. And I think risk should be, there should be no actions against risk. Because if you hear stories like that, you think about, well, it's an easy way. And it's not an easy way. I founded Escapio in 2004, and it was pretty good till 2008. We did about 50% of the revenue from the US. And 2008 there happened something that's called financial crisis. And all those guys booking 8,000 euro trips to Tuscany and Spain and did it via Escapio, all those guys spent their money, perhaps to Expedia, for 1,000 euro to Mexico City and not to Escapio. And there was a point, a time where I was just such close to death. And it was minus 80,000 on my bank account. So if you don't accept a risk, you're not able to do something like that. I think this combination, be an entrepreneur, want to do business, want to be successful, but accept the risk on that hand. I think this is a quite important case.
There is a nice saying from Mark Zuckerberg, is that it's fine if you fail, but try to fail as fast as possible. Because this saves you money.
And you know, the risk part is not only just for entrepreneurs, right? So don't think that if you are employed at a company that you don't have to take risks. Yeah? So, you know, if you guys go out into your working lives and you get employed somewhere, don't think that, you know, just because you signed a contract, that means that you're safe. Yeah? So companies, especially fast-growing companies, they also expect from their employees to take risks to take the company further. And so never be afraid. If you have a good idea and you believe in it, make sure you get alliances within the company, but fight for it, absolutely. Because that's true for big enterprises, but of course for entrepreneurs even more so.
Final question? No more?
One more
question, you pay the first beer.
Go for the beer.
For everybody, it's not expensive.
I was just wondering, because you mentioned that the technology is growing so fast, and if like the people, the consumer were overwhelmed with this kind of technology, like they cannot use the maximum of the potential of the side of the technology. So how do you cope with it?
Well, it's typical because if the technology starts, it was the point exactly at the lowest consumer exception. And then the exception of the consumer is like that, okay, I want to get a bit better, but the engineers create so much progress and they create so much progress in product development that at the end, the speed of this development is much faster than the demand of the user. And it's too much, they're overwhelmed. Yeah, and yeah, it might be. It's a loss of revenue. Yeah, for example, well, if you have looked, for example, there are tons of studies that if you do a market research and then you do a good research and you ask your customer what part of the product is really creating the value, then the answers are not the same than the engineers in the company tell to the CEO. So sometimes a lot of products create value on a base the customer doesn't need. Have a look at cars. I'm not sure who has used 100% of all technical games within a car. I'm sure nobody. But they're creating that value because they want to differentiate. They want to be better, faster. And I think the Tesla case. If you ask Tesla drivers, what's the pretty cool thing on Tesla? You get really crazy answers. For example, they tell you, well, the most thing I love on my Tesla is I get in and just push the button and Tesla asks you, oh, I can see a schedule on your, at 10 o'clock you are at, for example, Expedia Munich. Shall I drive you to Expedia? You needn't have to type in because it's just connected to your iPhone. It's just a very simple feature. Believe me, I drive an Audi for 3 years now, and I hate it. A, B, oh, the wrong one, back. I need, I think, 3 minutes to say the car which you drive to. So it's just a very small value that people love this value. Or they love this 17 or 17-inch screen. Just a huge screen in there. Nobody would expect, but people love it. And they don't care about, hey, the size and if there are 80 kilo volume on back here or something like that. No, just very small value. So I think the cores. How do I get the value the customer wants? And a last sentence before getting to the beer. I think if you think about the Airbnb story, it's not, as you heard the story of Henry Ford before, it's not always asking your customer. Because none of the customers would have said, I want to get a 17-inch screen inside. And at the Airbnb story, I think if they would have asked, do you want to sleep in an old flat from someone you don't know, nobody would have said, yes, I love it. But now you love it because they created a really wonderful, lovely, personalized and socialized product. And that's kind of entrepreneur thinking. Okay, let's go to the beer.
Thank you very much. Last presentation from my side. I feel that everyone is getting tired. It was an awesome afternoon. Thank you very much to the speakers. Thank you very much to my master group who prepared and planned and organized this event. It was great having you here. Thank you for the great questions and the great answers, and I wish you all the best and see you outside having a beer.